Here in Greenville, an old friend, and Phil Houston's been on the show before too, because they had the Spy the Lie book. Now this one's also a New York Times bestseller. So that's coming. They've been doing interviews all over national television, and we got them here coming up this morning. And to the authors of Get the Truth. This is the hottest book in the country right now. It's from the same guys who wrote the book Spy the Lie. Philip Houston, we've had on the show before, and I got to get them to explain it. But our friend Peter Romary, who of course is a local Greenville attorney, who I've known for many, many years, is part of this company with Phil Houston called QVerity, and they're in the not the SB. They're in the interrogation business, I think, is a better way of putting it. And here's the thing: Peter sent me an autographed copy of the book about 2 weeks ago, and I had all intentions of reading it. So when I went out in the lobby, I was going to lie and tell them that I'd read the book, but then I remembered that Phil Houston is a CIA interrogator, and he would know if I was lying.
Yeah, you made the good call by not lying.
So, we're going to be talking about lying this morning and how to tell when someone is lying. So if you feel someone's lying to you, you need to listen to the next interview here in about 5-6 minutes, because one of the top CIA officers, Phil's job was to interrogate criminals and terrorists and stuff like that. And he has written this new book, Get the Truth. It's the same, and it's just hit the New York Times bestseller list. Phil's been doing interviews all over the country. He's been on Megyn Kelly like twice. He's been on the Today Show, but by golly, we got him on the other channel this morning. We got him on the big stick today. We got him on Cable 7. Nice. And here on the show. So stand by for the interview with Philip Houston and my friend Peter Romary on the new New York Times best-selling book, Get the Truth. I'm going to find out. Aren't you interested in this, McGee, to find out how to tell when someone's lying to you?
Absolutely, I am.
We should see if he could tell if I'm lying about stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm totally comfortable with that. Maybe we could do it with Engelbrecht.
What?
That'll work.
No.
I think maybe here. I'm excited about this. We've had Philip Houston on before. Do you prefer Phil?
Phil is fine.
Phil is a former CIA officer, and he used to interrogate bad guys for the CIA. And he is here in the studio with us, along with my old friend Peter Romary, who is a Greenville attorney, who is now working for QVerity, the company that is, we'll tell you more about in just a moment. You're also teaching now at Campbell Law School, right?
Yes.
How are you? Good to see you.
Great, absolutely doing wonderful. How about you?
I'm doing great. And you wrote in the book as well.
I wrote about 80 pages of commentary, trying to tie in the intelligence practice into business, law, and everyday life.
And by the way, you could probably tell that Peter did not grow up in Aden. Peter Romary, who I love to hear talk, an old friend from here in Greenville. But where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Cornwall, in the southwest of England, and then have spent the last 23 years here in North Carolina. Last 21 of which have been here in Greenville.
Yeah, and Phil, you're a East Carolina guy too, right? You went to ECU, and you're back and living in Greenville now.
Yes, indeed, back home.
Yeah, after how many years in the CIA?
Just south of 25 years.
Yeah. These guys have hit it again. They wrote a book, about 4 or 5 years ago, called Spy the Lie. Is that right? Mm-hmm. That became a New York Times best-selling book, and now the new book is Get the Truth. Former CIA officers teach you how to persuade anyone to tell all. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Now, I just said you've been on Megyn Kelly twice. I didn't mean to insult you. She's had you on 4 times on the phone. So you've been all over television. You've been on the Today Show. You've been on even on MSNBC, I heard.
Yes, on the Morning Joe show.
Yeah, you went on with Joe Scarborough. Mm-hmm. So tell us about the book, Get the Truth.
The book Get the Truth is really a sort of sequel to Spy the Lie. Spy the Lie was written to help people understand how to spot deception, and Get the Truth is written for the purpose of, if you spot it, now what do you do with it? How do you go get the truth? So if I asked you, if I were, questioning you as a potential bad guy, and I say, Henry, did you take the money, and your answer wasn't satisfactory, then how do I get you to tell me that you took the money? And that's what Get the Truth is all about.
All right, I'm going to ask you in a second how you know when somebody's lying, but let me ask, and of course you don't have to think about that because that's what you do every day. But Peter, QVerity is the company that you're involved with Phil. What is QVerity and what's your role here?
My role is general counsel and partner. I practice the methodologies too. We are a risk management, consulting, crisis management, and also a large part of what we do is screening. We do screening for Fortune 100 companies, high net worth individuals, hedge funds, private equity funds, and government sector clients around the world.
And so you're trying to find out if these guys are lying?
Yes. Yes, it's very hard.
All right, so did you hear my analogy of my weekend when my wife said to me, honey, do you want to go see the Nicholas Sparks movie? And I went, absolutely. Now, if she reads this book, is she going to know I was lying?
Probably.
So how do you know when someone's not telling the truth?
Well, Henry, you just did something interesting. When you said absolutely, you shook your head no. Okay?
So it's the body language?
Well, that's part of it, absolutely. You can take all of the deceptive indicators and you can categorize them in different ways. But in the broadest sense, you can categorize them into what people say, the verbal behaviors, and what people do while they're saying them, a la what you just did a second ago. The behaviors or the physical behaviors that accompany our statements. We have a specific set of what we consider to be the most reliable deceptive indicators in each of those categories. So, for example, if I'm talking to you, you may exhibit an evasion behavior. I may ask you a question, you don't answer my question. There's a single deceptive indicator. The key to our success, though, is we know that one indicator is not enough. We're going to need to see what we call a cluster of deceptive indicators, at least two. And the more we see, the higher the probability that you're actually lying.
So I've heard in the past that if someone is talking to you and you ask them a question and they look down and to the right, is that any truth to that?
Not from a deception standpoint. It's called, what you're referring to is a concept called neurolinguistic programming. It was a methodology developed many years ago for reasons different than deception, and it was sort of an aftermarket application to try to apply it to deception. And the research has not proven that it works in that arena. In fact, eye contact itself is a very poor indicator of deception.
Really?
Yes, research has shown that often deceptive people have better eye contact than truthful people.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Are there some people better liars than others? I would assume that having spent the years that you spent interrogating bad guys for the CIA, you saw a lot of pretty good liars.
Mm-hmm. There are people who are better liars. We found that the best liars are those who are not afraid to tell what proverbially has been termed the bald-faced lie. So when you ask them, did you rob the bank? They're saying, no, I didn't rob the bank. Once they get over that fear of lying, so to speak, they can become pretty good liars.
Which president was it? Teddy Roosevelt that said, "Weak points speak louder."
Absolutely. Yes.
So do liars, Peter, speak louder?
Yes, they do, very much so. That's one thing that we're asked an awful lot is can somebody read these books and make themselves a better liar? And the answer is no. It's that these are things that people can't avoid doing. People are always going to default into doing any number of these. And there's no set formula. We can't say that most liars exhibit things non-verbally, or most liars exhibit things verbally. Phil has a wonderful expression: lying's not a team sport. It's very, very individualistic. But it's just paying attention to what people say. And I'd also stress as well that there's also a difference between deception and a lie. And a great example of that is we use in training is when then Governor Clinton was asked, did you have a 12-year affair with Jennifer Flowers? Jennifer with a G, Flowers. And he said, that allegation is false. Well, it turned out
it was 11 and a half years.
It was 11 and a half years. And so, there's difference between deception and a lie.
That actually seems like poor interviewing skills to me.
Exactly, and that was one of the reasons for writing this book, was that people said, okay, well, you've seen somebody exhibit deception. Now tell us, how are you going to get from them what the actual truth is?
Right. Interesting. When you've done these things as a CIA interrogator, Phil, are you generally one-on-one in the room with a guy like this?
Yeah, more often than not, that's the best approach, Henry. There's an old axiom in the interrogation business that says people don't confess to crowds. And so when you can get down to a one-on-one level, that's your best chance for getting someone to open up to you.
Is there? I'm sure there's a skill to interviewing someone to try to get the truth, which is what the book's all about. Is there a short synopsis of that, or do we need to read the whole book? Or?
No. There's some key points to getting the truth. A lot about getting the truth is counterintuitive. So if I ask you a question and you don't tell me the truth, and I recognize it instinctively or intuitively, I want to ask you more questions. But the first problem that creates is what the behavioralists refer to as psychological entrenchment. The more you commit to that lie, every time you verbalize a lie, you're committing to that lie. And that makes my job nearly twice as difficult every time I allow you to do it. So intuitively, instead of asking questions, all of a sudden we have to become the person talking. And what we're going to be talking about are things that will help you to get into the short-term thinking mode, meaning that you're not going to be focused at all or as much on the consequences of confessing, to whatever it is you're not telling the truth about. And there are certain things we tell you. We'll give you reasons why it's okay to explain it or talk about it. We'll minimize whatever it is that you're fearing, all right? And then we'll also socialize it. We'll tell you perhaps about someone just like you who may have done something similar. Collectively, all of those things can get people to go into this short-term thinking mode. So they've got reasons they don't want to tell you, and now you're supplying other reasons that might take on more priority at that moment in time.
I bet one of the big demographic success models for your book is cheating spouses.
Yes.
What do you think? I bet that there are a lot of women out there or men out there who think their spouses are cheating on them that will get this book. Is it going to help them, Peter?
This is the 2015 version of Fatal Attraction. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Yes.
It's going to help the spouses much more than it's going to help the cheaters.
And we also think as well that in the next year or so, people are going to be using these techniques and assessing politicians when they're out on the campaign trail and listening to what they're saying. So and paying a lot more attention to what they're saying to them.
So did you look at the Hillary Clinton video?
We did. We looked at the...
Do you have any information you'd like to share about it?
Well, which video are you referring to?
I'm talking about the one she released announcing her presidency.
Oh, no.
Let's talk about the Benghazi hearing then.
Well, actually...
I don't want to make this political.
No, absolutely. And the thing is that we say that we've got no allegiance. Our only allegiance is to the truth. We don't have any partisan allegiance. The allegiance is to the truth. The most interesting one was about the emails and what happened with the emails. and we put together for a client an analysis of her statements with regards to the email that she made to the press, and found a significant cluster of highly deceptive indicators there that suggested to us that there's a lot more digging that needs to be done. And again, that's the thing with the methodology. You'd be astonished what you are able to get people to reveal when you start to dig. And
I have some bad news for both of you. I don't know anything about your world, and I didn't work for the CIA, but I knew she was lying too.
Well, I honestly think Henry read the book. I really do.
That's what I said. I was going to tell you guys I read the book, then I realized you're lying expert, and you knew that I'd be lying. How about it's interesting as a law professor now you're teaching students law. I mean, and let's be honest, the legal profession. To be successful, you've got to be, in a lot of cases, you've got to be a pretty good person with deception.
You have got to be able to step out of your personal role and your personal feelings, and you have to be able to advocate on behalf of a client. But what I'm teaching at Campbell Law School are these methodologies, and what we're trying to do is enhance ethics. So in client screening, when people are coming in, when direct exam or cross-examining a witness to look and see deception and be able to articulate what you've seen to a jury or to a judge. And so these are important things. We have a reputational problem. The legal profession has a reputational problem, and we are very, very ethics-focused in QVerity. We will do assessment. We hand it off to the client. It is up to the client as to what they do with that assessment. But we want lawyers to be able to do the same thing, and that's what we're training them to do. We're told that they lack practical skills, that many times they miss things they should have seen, and we're helping them with that to enhance their critical thinking.
I think the last time you were on, we talked about some of these things, but how about some of the other famous liars that we've seen over the years? I think about the O.J. Simpson trial. I think about, we talked about Bill Clinton. I mean, any president that we've had. I mean, can you give us some examples of some other things?
We've put into the book, Mike Floyd, and Don Tennant's absolutely brilliant writer, worked on this. Michael Floyd, Susan Carnicero. I tell people I work with true American heroes. I wish there were things I could tell you about all of these folks that I can never tell you about things they've done. But Mike put together, and I went back and forth with him, how he would have interrogated O.J. Simpson. How he would have interrogated O.J.
Is that in
Simpson.
this book?
It's in this book. There's a chapter where we put together how an interrogation of O.J. Simpson would have gone to get the truth from O.J. Simpson. But we see a lot of it in corporations and institutions of higher education, in Fortune 100 companies. We see a lot of people who are deceptive, and it's good for investors to know about that so they can know in advance. Again, we say if people had known in advance about Bernie Madoff, and all of the signs were there, we saw these signs, and our clients got to know about these signs, about Enron, about a number of corporations, and they saw them in advance, they wouldn't have lost the money that they did. Trust but verify is a wonderful adage, but we like to go at things in just a very, very analytical way. Discover deception, screening and rescreening. You get somebody who applies for a job, they appear to be the absolute best thing since sliced bread, but you conduct a screening effectively, you may discover things about that person that tells you this person is going to be a lethal, what we would refer to as have lethal characteristics for a potential CEO.
Depending on who you talk to, Phil, we've gotten some good information from some of the prisoners at Guantanamo Bay. In fact, it's interesting. Senator Burr was in here last week. He's chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee now, and he was saying that we're still getting information from which of course, you know, a lot of people want to let all those guys out of there, but we're still getting information from some of those guys. Have you ever been involved in any of that, or actually interrogating anyone involved in international terrorism like that?
The only thing that I can say, Henry, you can't confirm or deny any involvement with a particular group or individuals. I have, interviewed and interrogated terrorists during my career.
That was a neither confirm nor deny answer. Very exciting.
Sounds like he's been working with a lawyer.
Do you watch Homeland?
I've seen it. I haven't watched it very often.
I hear the CIA guys were happy to hear that this coming season that Kerry's getting thrown out of the CIA again. I'm a big Homeland fan, so it's all about the CIA, and it doesn't it often doesn't depict the CIA as a very good thing.
Right.
So I'm sure that the CIA doesn't like that show very much.
Well, there very much is a Hollywood version of CIA, and then there's the real agency.
Right,
and even some folks in the agency love to be, love the Hollywood side.
And we worked with them on this and on Spy the Lie, just to make sure that nothing that was classified was revealed in this book. That said, they let us.
You guys have worked with the TV show?
No, we've worked with the agency to make sure, and with NSA to make sure that everything that is in this book, we've gone as close to the line as they will allow us to go on both books. And Spy the Lie has actually been banned in a couple of countries who are not friendly to the USA. We expect exactly the same with Get the Truth. But I will say this, is that everybody I've met who is either working for CIA or worked for CIA, I have found all of them to be truly incredibly honorable people, wonderful people who love this country. There are a lot of things that have been said about them in the press, on TV, that they're never going to be able to respond to. And so they are having to deal with this with both hands tied behind their backs. And they're good people, and they're honest people, and they are very honorable people. And we as a country owe a debt of thanks to all of them.
Could you just listen to Peter talk all day?
Yes, indeed.
Love to hear you talk.
Please call Marcy and tell her that.
Yeah, your wife actually lied to me about that. She said she liked it also. No, you got a great wife, Marcy.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, congratulations again. This is already on the New York Times bestseller list. If you haven't read it yet, get it. It's called Get the Truth, and this is not a lie. I'll look you dead in the face and tell you I'm going to read it this weekend. How about that?
Fantastic.
I'm going to do my best to read it this weekend. I didn't shake my head no.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I really meant to read it already, but now I want to read it even more. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
And it's exciting to have world-famous authors right here in Greenville. This thing's climbing the New York Times bestseller list, and it's going to be a huge hit. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Henry.
Yeah.
Thank you.